everyone, it's Bea. Welcome to an honorary episode in my Women of Survival Horror series, which I am calling honorary because today's episode is not about one woman of survival horror in particular, but instead about a phenomenon which is becoming increasingly common with female characters in classic survival horror game remakes that have come out in the past few years. What I'm talking about is how in survival horror game remakes, for whatever reason, developers insist on changing the default outfits of mostly female characters and updating them. For what reasons, I cannot be certain, but that's what I'm here to talk about today. Also, before I start, I just want to say a lot of this video is going to be my personal opinion, and it is okay if you disagree with me and you think I'm being dramatic and have a completely different opinion than me, or whatever. It's totally fine. Just try and be civil and respectful about it, okay? Cool, let's get started. For the purposes of today's video, we are going to be talking about the ways in which the default outfits for Ashley Graham and Ada Wong from Resident Evil 4, Maria from Silent Hill 2, Claire Redfield from Resident Evil 2, and Jill Valentine from Resident Evil 3 were changed from their original designs to what would eventually be used in each of the remakes of these games. I realize that this is an incredibly niche topic which may not sound super interesting, but I do have quite a bit to say on the subject. So, to start off, we'll talk about Ashley Graham and Maria together because I feel like they both fall victim to what I'm going to call the blazer fix. I feel like this doesn't even really need to be explained because I'm sure just by looking at these comparison pictures of the original and remake versions of these two characters, what I'm talking about should be immediately noticeable. That being that for some strange reason, they've decided to give both of these characters a blazer to go over their clothes. And beyond just that, in Ashley's case, they've also given her a scarf, tights, and changed out her skirt for a pair of shorts, and in Maria's case, they have covered up her midriff and toned down her entire outfit to much more muted colors and gotten rid of her leopard print skirt and the gold chain on it altogether. Given that in both of these games the male protagonists don't have their iconic original outfits changed in any major way, it's pretty jarring, I think, just how much Ashley and Maria's outfits are changed from their original designs, and I feel like there's probably quite a few reasons for this. First and foremost, both Ashley and Maria are characters which in their original games are quite sexualized. In Ashley's case, through a plethora of completely unnecessary upskirt shots and comments about her ballistics, and in Maria's case as a plot device in James's story of seduction and guilt. I think in today's day and age, overt sexualization of female characters is not nearly as acceptable as it once was back in the early 2000s when these games were being released. This is obviously just my opinion, but I do feel like the reason for these tremendous changes in costume design is an effort by game studios to possibly avoid any potential controversy or accusations of over-sexualizing a female character in one of their games. I mean, in Ashley's case, they literally couldn't cover up any more of her skin even if they wanted to unless they put a sack over her head. And having her wear shorts and a blazer may have been a way to avoid having players sexualize her as well by cutting out the possibility altogether. In Maria's case, I don't know how else to put this, but she looks less like a seductress figment of James's imagination and more like a bank manager in her newly designed outfit. I do feel like, and this especially relates to Maria and her role in Silent Hill 2's story, the clothes each character wears are in and of themselves a form of storytelling, and you can learn a lot about a character, what kind of person they are, and what time period something is set in through them. For both Ashley and Maria, I think it's important to note that their games are set in 2004 and 2001 respectively, and I think both their original outfit designs are very indicative of the time periods they were created in. Ashley was created based on the appearance of a young Britney Spears, and Maria was based on a combo of Cameron Diaz and Christina Aguilera. All of these were young, attractive, and very famous pop stars and celebrities of the late 90s and early 2000s. And so, the outfits that these characters are wearing are very reflective of those inspirations. I mean, Maria's literally is an outfit that Christina Aguilera wore to the Teen Choice Awards. Though I do think that some costume redesigns can be justified, such as maybe giving Ashley some shorts under her skirt rather than just a skirt with underwear under it to avoid any gratuitous upskirting, whether it be by design, by having her crawl under a table or fall down when the knights try to attack her, or by having players have the option to just look up her skirt when she's standing at the top of a ladder. I think it's completely reasonable to give her a pair of shorts under there. I don't know why they didn't do that in the first place, but I mean, realistically, we do know why they didn't do that in the first place. It was by design, obviously, to have her over-sexualized in that manner. However, there really isn't much of a justification in my mind for the rest of the changes, or not even having her original outfit as a special unlockable costume. And no, I am not counting the version where she just wears the same exact thing, just without a blazer or a scarf. It's still a completely different outfit. It's just not the same outfit at all. As for Maria, I can't think of a single justification for what they did to her outfit design. It just feels so far removed from the time period the game takes place in and from her purpose as a character, given that she's supposed to be sexy. That's the whole reason for her existence in Silent Hill in James's imagination. I just don't think the changes made can be justified, especially when the outfits of their male protagonist counterparts are mostly unchanged in any meaningful or immediately noticeable way. I also just wanted to mention before I move on from Ashley Graham that if you're the sort of person who's like really into Resident Evil 4, like I'm really into Resident Evil 4, you may be thinking to yourself, her new outfit design just kind of looks like her Resident Evil 4 beta outfit, which would be a fine argument if you're blind and also stupid. For those who don't know, Ashley's beta outfit was a pair of skinny jeans, brown boots, and a scarf, and a belted orange pea coat. This outfit, in my opinion, would have been infinitely better than what they chose as her new, more chaste design in the RE4 remake, because it accomplishes the task of covering her up a bit more to avoid accusations of over-sexualization without compromising her design looking like it comes from a different time period than 2004 as it does in the remake. She also still looks her age in this outfit. This is absolutely something a 20-year-old from 2004 would wear because it follows popular trends of the time, especially for those who dressed in preppier styles, as someone like Ashley definitely would have. Whereas I can't think of a single 20-year-old in 2004 who would be wearing a blazer and tights like they're going to an office job when they're just like a college student. That doesn't make any sense at all. So, moving on to Ada Wong's costume change from the original RE4 to the remake. It's quite possibly an even more drastic change than the other two we just talked about. So, Ada's dress in the original Resident Evil 4 is quite obviously meant to be sexy. She has a red satin gown on with a slit all the way up the side to show off her bare legs and her gun holster, as well as black stilettos and a black ribbon choker which hangs all the way down her back. In the remake, she has very much the same kind of thing going on as Ashley, that being that she's literally covered head to toe in fabric, wearing a turtleneck dress, black stockings, and black thigh-high boots. This is not to say that her outfit in the remake isn't still sexy. Totally is. But this is obviously a huge change from her outfit in the original, possibly for the same reasons as I mentioned before, trying to avoid accusations of over-sexualization, and in Ada's case, possibly trying to avoid over-sexualizing her culture. Just gonna put this out there. I'm not going to pretend that I'm anything even close to an authority on what I'm going to cover in this next part of the video, but I do feel like it's relevant to the subject, so I'm going to try my best. And if you know more than me about this specifically, please feel free to help me out in the comments. I am fairly certain that this is the case, but I don't know 100% for sure. So, Wong is a last name of Chinese origin, and I think the influence of Chinese culture in her original dress is very evident, especially in the pattern and color, which looks very similar to a, pause, I'm sorry if I mispronounce this, I'm going to try my best, okay? Cheongsam or Qipao, which is a traditional Chinese dress. I think given that in the remake, they did give Ada this a special unlockable outfit that looks very similar to her original dress design, albeit a much more modest and traditional looking version of it, more akin to an actual Cheongsam or Qipao design. This might point to a worry that by including her original dress design, it might be playing into a common issue which involves the over-sexualization of traditional Chinese dresses in popular media, which many people have spoken out against over the years. So this much is totally understandable if it is indeed the case and they felt like by including her original dress, it might be seen as a form of discrimination or over-sexualization of Chinese culture. I obviously don't know enough about this topic to say one way or another on this, and if you do know about this topic, let me know. Because I'm fairly certain this is the reason for them not including her original dress design, but I wasn't able to find any information on that literally anywhere. But I think by changing her original dress design to something more traditional makes sense and was probably a good call if this is indeed why they did that. However, it is a little confusing why, if they're going to go through all the trouble of completely redesigning the dress and making it look more traditional and less over-sexualized, they'd only use it as a special unlockable outfit rather than her default outfit, instead of opting for, an entirely new turtleneck ensemble. Just very strange in my opinion. Maybe you have a different opinion on that. I feel like this one's a little more divisive than the other outfit design changes for other characters, because this one obviously is a little bit more in-depth than the other ones are. Next up are the redesigns of both Claire Redfield from Resident Evil 2 and Jill Valentine from Resident Evil 3, both of which I feel kind of fall victim to the same issue that I'm hoping you'll be able to see as soon as I put the pictures up, and I'm going to call this the practicality fix, which is similar to the blazer fix from earlier, but instead this is a massive outfit redesign based on making an outfit look more practical than their original design. Claire Redfield's original outfit in Resident Evil 2 was basically a very tight black shirt and bike shorts with a red denim biker romper over it, with black fingerless gloves and a pair of knee-high boots, which has been switched out in the remake for a red leather biker jacket, a black tank top, skinny jeans, and motorcycle boots. Jill Valentine's original outfit was the very iconic blue tube top, black mini skirt, white shirt tied around her waist, and a pair of knee-high boots, which has been updated to a white tank top with a blue tank top over it, a pair of skinny jeans, and combat boots. Where do I even begin with these? I think it's important to mention that yes, the original outfits for these two characters would probably be very impractical in a zombie apocalypse situation. However, is changing these characters' outfits so significantly the solution? Absolutely not, and I'm going to tell you why I feel like that. In this circumstance, I feel like beyond just avoiding accusations of over-sexualization, blah blah blah, gotta cover up as much skin as physically possible on every single female character for some reason in order to make sure that everybody knows that you're not sexualizing them, even though neither of these characters' original outfits were even particularly revealing to begin with. I think these changes were made to make these characters seem more badass by today's standards. This next bit I'm gonna say is absolutely just based on my personal experience, but when I was a little girl once upon a time, and I was watching my dad play through all of the classic Resident Evil games, there was nothing in the world I thought was cooler or more badass than a female character doing something awesome in a cute outfit, and this includes Jill, Claire, and Ada as well. I felt like if you could kick zombie butt and blow things up while wearing something super cute and fashionable, that was like the pinnacle of what it meant to be a badass woman, and these were the sorts of characters that I looked up to when I was a kid. I can promise you, never once did I think, you know what would make this character even cooler? If she'd cover up a bit, put some damn pants on. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, think about Catwoman for a minute. Like Halle Berry Catwoman. The relevance of whether or not it's a good movie is not important right now. Okay, just think about her. Do you think any girl ever watched that movie growing up and thought, man, that movie was awesome? I wish she was wearing something frumpier though, so it'd be a little bit more realistic and practical. Literally, no one has ever said that. Ever. So, back to the point here about Claire and Jill specifically. I want to once again bring up the years which these games take place in, like I did before. Both of these games take place in 1998 within one day of each other, and I feel that just by looking at the original outfits of both of these characters, they are absolutely screaming 90s. Especially Jill's, which is something I could easily picture on one of the Spice Girls. It's important to note here right off the bat that skinny jeans were not a thing in 1998. In fact, they didn't even become super popular or even widely available to buy until the mid-2000s, so why both of these characters are suddenly wearing skinny jeans in 1998 is absolutely beyond me, especially when bootcut and straight leg jean styles were so popular for women at the time. This feels like a particularly stupid change to make, considering if you look just 2 years into the future to the year 2000 when Resident Evil Code Veronica is released, you can see Claire Redfield wearing an outfit with the correct style of jeans for the time period. Note how the boots typically fit under straight leg or bootcut jeans because the bottoms aren't skin tight like they are with skinny jeans, which wouldn't be introduced until nearly half a decade later. Like, it's just stupid. Beyond just thinking that these two outfit redesigns are just uglier than the original outfit designs for these two characters, they don't even make any sense. They couldn't come up with anything better than, like, jeans and a shirt? There's no way that they couldn't have come up with anything better than that. I know this seems like a very small and insignificant thing to get hung up on, but again, I think it's important to reiterate that unless these remakes are stating that the time period has changed since the original, which as far as I know, none of them have, it is still canonically 1998. And changing a character's outfit to such an extent that it no longer even looks like the character could have existed in the time period that they're supposedly in is not only extremely noticeable, at least to me, but it's a detriment to the world building of these games and detracts from the immersion of feeling like you're hopping back in time to when the games originally came out, just with suddenly better graphics and modern controls. If this is to avoid offending modern audiences, I can't think of a single person who would take offense to a woman wearing a plain tube top and skirt unless they were possibly very religious. And even then, that feels like a stretch. Hello, I'm editing right now, and I realized after I recorded this video, I forgot to mention, I'm fully aware that in the Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes, they include for both Claire and Jill special unlockable costumes that look kinda similar to their original designs. However, and I'm gonna try to avoid beating a dead horse here, but what the hell? It literally cannot be that hard to just take the original outfit design, make it again with newer graphics, and put it in the remake. If the whole point of including these outfits at all as a special unlockable item is to appeal to the nostalgia of players who liked the original designs and liked the original games, then why make the changes? I know it might seem insignificant, but why, when taking Claire's denim romper, do we have to take the waist from her natural waist and move it down to her hips? I feel like all that accomplishes is making it look frumpier. And for what? Lots of women's clothing sits at your natural waist, not down at your hips, so I don't understand the purpose of making that change. And I suppose, yes, maybe they felt like having her wear a pair of Daisy Dukes over her second pair of bike shorts was a little too scandalous, but why? It doesn't make any sense at all to me why every time they try to take the old outfit designs for female characters and put them into the newer games, they like insist on making them look frumpier than they used to. I just can't understand it. That's just how I feel about it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, rant over. Back to your regularly scheduled programming. As I've said, to an extent, I can understand why some of these changes were made. But on the other hand, if you feel like the outfits that these female characters are wearing is the sole reason for people accusing the survival horror genre of being misogynistic or over-sexualizing its female characters, you simply have a poor understanding of the genre as a whole. In some circumstances, such as Maria from Silent Hill 2 or Fiona from Haunting Ground, the overt sexualization of the character through very revealing or tight clothing is part of the game's storytelling or part of the horror itself. Very tight and revealing clothing, especially if you are made to wear that type of clothing without your consent, such as in Fiona's case, can be part of making the character be more vulnerable. Or, if you're Maria from Silent Hill 2, it's part of the figment of a man's imagination. Do you think a man is imagining a woman wearing a business casual outfit? No! I know I'm not a man, and I don't speak for every man in the world. But I just don't think if a guy's thinking in his head of what a sexy woman looks like, he's thinking of a business casual dress with like a blazer over it. I know that that's not what I'm thinking about. I've spoken about the clothing that women in survival horror games wear so extensively through my Women of Survival Horror series, and yes, there are many circumstances such as these special unlockable outfits for Alyssa in Clock Tower 3, which are a blatant example of sexualizing a character who is canonically 14 years old. Pause. That's gross. It's just flat out disgusting. And others like Ashley from Resident Evil 4's upskirt shots or Eriko from Illbleed's clothing, which falls off little by little throughout the game as you take damage, which is completely unnecessary, adds nothing to the game other than eye candy for the mostly male players themselves, and are genuinely problematic. All of that I just said was to say that sometimes revealing outfits are okay in the context of the story, and sometimes they aren't. Again, it depends on context. Context is what determines right and wrong in these circumstances, not the outfits themselves. I think the major takeaway I want to leave you with is that it's not just the outfits which are most of the time the source of over-sexualization of female characters within survival horror games, but the way that the games themselves treat these characters within their own universe and how the players are expected to interact with them. Keep in mind, and I think this is the best example I can give you of this, Ashley in the original Resident Evil 4 has more than one voice line specifically for the circumstance that the player tries to look up her skirt. She is by design meant to be over-sexualized, and without that aspect of accounting for the fact that players are definitely going to try to look up her skirt, her outfit design is not in and of itself sexual in any way. That's just a normal outfit. On a surface level, there's nothing wrong with any of the original costume designs of any of the characters we talked about today that I feel absolutely needed to be adjusted for modern audiences, possibly with the exception of Ada Wong's original dress design. Furthermore, I feel like since the outfits of these characters' male counterparts remain mostly unchanged, it is all the more noticeable and not in a good way. In some circumstances, such as the redesign of both Claire and Jill for the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 3, they stick out like a sore thumb in terms of being accurate to the time period they're meant to be in. And I don't feel like making all of these female characters cover up to solve the problem is as progressive as it may initially seem. Being forced to dress more modestly, being told to cover up, to put some pants on, generally just tone down what you're wearing is absolutely something many women, besides just myself, dealt with hearing time and time again while growing up. And considering all of these women are simply fictional characters which human players are projecting their own thoughts, desires, and beliefs onto, it feels to me, at least, like they're saying if any of these female characters show too much skin because they are women, that is inherently sexual. Which is obviously a pretty old sentiment at this point, a la scandalously showing a woman's ankles, if you get what I'm saying. I want to be very clear, I'm not saying we should go full steam ahead down the route that Resident Evil 5 took towards its female characters by putting them in the most ridiculously scantily clad outfits imaginable and thinking that's just totally fine. But what I am saying is that nothing about these characters' original outfits was inherently problematic in terms of over-sexualizing them based on their gender alone. For some, it was a combination of design and the way they were treated in the game, and for others, it was never a problem to begin with, as the character was not sexualized in-game at all. All in all, in my opinion, I feel like making these characters wear mountains of fabric to cover up every bit of skin that they have, or swapping a miniskirt for skinny jeans and combat boots, is counterintuitive to making women feel empowered, and there's absolutely nothing wrong about a woman kicking ass in a dress or a miniskirt as long as she's still treated with respect. I also personally feel that many of these outfit changes were a detriment of the game's immersion with regards to staying true to their respective time periods. I also wanted to mention that I understand the argument could be made that the reason only the female characters in these games have their outfits completely changed, whereas the male characters' outfits remain relatively unchanged, is because the men's outfits are already practical, as men's clothes are just more practical and functional by default, and fashion for men doesn't really change much throughout the decades either. So it wouldn't have to be theoretically adjusted for modern preferences. However, I really struggle to see how practicality is a problem for fictional characters to such an extent that completely changing a character's outfit beyond recognition is the answer, just to make it a little bit more practical. Nothing about these games is realistic to begin with. So I don't really see what difference it makes if Claire is wearing bike shorts and a denim romper or skinny jeans and a leather jacket. Either way, there's no such thing as a zombie apocalypse, and there aren't people running around a real place called Raccoon City picking up multicolored healing herbs and using grenade launchers, so why would I be concerned with her outfit's practicality? It doesn't need to be functional or practical, it's not real. Well, that's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know that this was a very opinion-heavy video, so I'm already expecting to receive comments vehemently disagreeing with me on probably something I said somewhere along the way, but of course everyone is entitled to their own opinion. You may really like some of the redesigned outfits and think that they're super awesome and a million times better than their original counterparts, and that's totally fine. I just want to make this video today to basically complain about something that I've noticed with these remakes that just drives me insane. I can't understand it. It's so stupid. This whole video could be boiled down to one line. I just think it's dumb. Also, I know it's been about half a year since I last made a video, and I'm sorry for the long wait, but since I last posted, I graduated college. So as it turns out, your last semester of college is exceptionally busy and stressful, who would have guessed, and that's why I've been missing for so long. Hopefully I'll be able to post more frequently going forward, but I won't make any promises. I don't know. I'll try my best, okay? So I hope you all have a good day or night or whatever time it is wherever you are, and I will see you all next time.